We are going to talk about being square today. In particular, a way to progress that concept as your dancers get more advanced. With our beginner dancers, we talk about square as like shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip. It makes a square, it makes a rectangle. And we want to keep the whole shape facing the front. We don't want to twist in our rectangle. And that's great for our beginning division dancers. The thing with the idea of square or en face as shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip, it has a couple of limitations. Number one, shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip, those are bony landmarks. Those aren't muscles. And dance is movement, which requires muscular engagement, whether that's contraction, whether that's release. Your muscles are what makes the movement happen. So if we focus too much on the bony landmarks, we start to create a disconnect. Another limitation is that because that is bony landmark oriented, it doesn't inspire muscular engagement. The third thing about shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip is that it's very static. You can only be that kind of square with really limited movement. So it works fine during like bar work or really basic work where you're just moving a leg or we're just focusing on the arms, but it's much harder to maintain in turn. It's harder to maintain in big jumps. Those are some of the limitations. And yet those same limitations are part of why shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip is a good focus for our beginning dancers, in particular the younger beginners. So shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip, those are things you can touch. I can touch those bones. And that's really helpful for beginning dancers who are still gaining somatic awareness. Our beginning dancers are still building their core strength. So the fact that we have a way to teach the concept of square that doesn't place a lot of strain on their core support or a lot of demands on their core support is a good thing. And because the emphasis in our beginning division is on the joy of movement and exploring different ways that we can move our bodies, it's not a huge deal that square is more of a static thing. In fact, it's a great challenge for beginning dancers to have a combination that moves through space, and then can you stop on a specified count in a specified shape facing square to a specified landmark. That's a fantastic and very appropriate challenge for them. But once our students reach the elementary division around age 8, about second grade, they really are ready to think about squareness in a more layered or more nuanced way. So that's the point where I stop talking about shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip, and we start talking about that place in their torso that's about halfway between their belly button and the bottom of their sternum. As in, where is that part of your body facing? I particularly like to take the emphasis off the front of the body. I don't want to know where your belly button is facing. What about your spine? Right? Like your spine is three-dimensional, right? And these are all the little bony bits on your back that you can feel, but your vertebrae come inside your body. So what about this part of your spine? Where is that facing? And I really like that because it starts to integrate the front and the back of the body. So we're not paper dolls, we're a body in space. There are a few images that you can use to help with this. One of my favorite images is the idea of a submarine with a little periscope. The pelvis is the submarine, right? It's big, it's important, it's got some heft to it. And then the spine is the periscope, and we want it to be looking forward. Another image that I have used with some success is the idea of there's a butterfly laying on your back and it's looking forward. Where is that butterfly looking? And then from there, if you want to incorporate using the back muscles, that lends itself really well into like the butterfly wings. They need to start on like the torso, the thorax, I think it is, of your butterfly and extend from there, which is like great because you get the squareness and then bonus back engagement. The third image that has brought a lot of success to my students is to think of a 5-pointed star. And where is the center of that star? If your head is 0.1, and then your arm over here is 0.2, and arm is 0.3, and then your legs are 4 and 5, the center of that is going to be right about in this place in between the bottom of the sternum and the waist. So where is the center of your star facing? This is imagery that I love to use in the elementary division, partly because it dovetails with the key principles so well. So in level 1, the key principle is core strength. We are building core strength. And because this concept of square or where you're facing is now in more of the torso, there's not a bony landmark, it naturally engages more of those core muscles. In level 2, our key principle is stability, which is an evolution of core strength. You need the core strength, and now we can turn it into stability. So let's take this image of a submarine. You have a submarine. Let's pretend that it has an anchor going down to the bottom of the ocean. I don't think submarines have anchors, but whatever. If we're standing on one foot, your pelvis is the submarine, your anchor goes down, that's the foot you're standing on. Where is your periscope? You want that to be over the anchor. You want it to be centered over your submarine. If you've got your submarine and your anchor over here and your periscope going this way, something is going to happen. The currents of the ocean are going to sweep your submarine away. The idea of square coming in the middle of the torso or coming from the torso is really, really great to help with stability. In level 3, the key principle is awareness of the center line. We want to develop that awareness and then start relating our movement to that center line. So if we had continued to think of square or where we're facing as shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip, none of those are along your center line. So our key principle is here, and we're adding ideas over here that doesn't make a lot of sense. But when we think about square as coming from the center of the torso, that is along your center line. So we take this principle that we've been building, this idea that we've been building through the levels, and then we add this other idea to it, but they dovetail so well, it's a very easy concept for the students to integrate. And then there are benefits to the intermediate and advanced division students as well. Epaulement becomes a big thing in the intermediate division, and if you don't have a really good sense of where your center line is oriented, adding epaulement is going to do all kinds of fun things. The idea of where is the internal part of my spine facing, that really helps dancers envision their body as three-dimensional, which really helps with things like attitude derriere. In the intermediate division, all of the body positionings like en face, écarté, effacé, croisé, they are all fair game. We use all of them. And when dancers have this idea of square comes from the center of my torso, those get way cleaner, way faster. Those are just a few of the benefits of introducing this concept of square is more than bony landmarks. If you're interested in more information about the curriculum, or you want to see like preview sections of the curriculum, those are available on my website, geekyballerina.com. You also can sign up for my monthly newsletter on the website. I talk about a technique tip, an artistry tip, and resources to help support that. If you like this video, I hope that you will share it with someone. I hope you have a really great class.